From the moment the pale morning light washed over the quiet neighborhood, Sari felt an uneasy heaviness in her chest, the kind of feeling that warned her something was about to shift. Something inside the routine of her life was preparing to crack open, though she couldn't yet name it. She walked into school with her usual timid steps, blending into the background like she always did. The kind of girl who lived in the corners of hallways and behind groups of louder people, hoping no one would notice her long enough to hurt her. But that day carried a different electricity, a strange pull that she didn't understand until she crossed paths with Doruk, the boy who had always seen her in ways she never saw herself. The boy whose quiet gaze made her heart beat uncomfortably hard, the boy who made her feel for the first time in her life like she wasn't invisible. And in an impulsive, breath-stealing moment near the old staircase, Doruk leaned in and kissed her softly, gently, like she was something delicate he was afraid to break. It wasn't dramatic, it wasn't messy, and it wasn't loud. It was pure, warm, and startlingly real, a small, intimate moment that made Sari's world tilt and stop all at once. But reality came crashing back the second she realized someone had seen. Worse they had seen. Burfin's shocked gasp, Zeynep's twisted grin, Edda's mocking laughter, all of it sliced through her brief happiness like a blade. The three girls who ruled the school corridors like self-appointed queens wasted no time turning her moment of joy into the day's entertainment. Neon Gavenyerson sen, sorry, Darukulami, Adiyama? Edda's voice cut through the hallway, sharp and smug, and Burfin's laugh followed like venom dripping off her tongue as she added, Kazien Zagavinen Bakya, Wachi Tinda Ilk, Defa Biriona, Bakamis Gibi Havalara, Gurmix Zeynep. Delivered the cruelest blow, Ueston Artistilik Yapir, Burda, Da, Dion Kim's Yuzun Bakim, Yodu. Their voices echoed around her as students turned to stare, whisper, record. What? Snicker like her embarrassment was a show they all paid tickets to watch. Sari felt her cheeks burn, her stomach twist, her breath catch as humiliation strangled her from the inside out. But she tried to keep walking, tried to pretend their laughter didn't feel like knives. She didn't get far. Zeynep stepped in front of her, eyes cold, hand raised Dan before Sari could flinch. The slap landed across her face, loud enough to snap the hallway into stunned silence. Books dropped. Gasps filled the air. But no one stepped in. No one defended her. They simply watched, wide-eyed and entertained, as if hurting her was a sport. Tears welled in Sari's eyes, not from the sting on her cheek, but from the avalanche of emotions suffocating her shame. Anger, heartbreak, disbelief, and yet something inside her flickered awake for the first time in her life. She lifted her head. Not much, but enough. Enough to make Zeynep's smirk falter. Enough to make Burfin glance away. Enough to make Edda stop laughing. With a trembling voice barely audible, but filled with something raw and real. Sari whispered Bonani. Oldakumu sees shyly Amisanes. Then walked away, not running, not hiding, but walking with the quiet dignity of someone who refused to break even with trembling legs. She escaped to the old gym building and finally let the tears fall, curling into herself, wishing she could rip the whole day out of her memory. Doruk found her there, breathless and panicked, after searching the school like a storm. When he saw her red eyes and shaking hands, something in him shifted. Fury and guilt tangled in his expression as she told him everything: the humiliation, the slap, the insults, the way people stared as if she was beneath them. Doruk didn't interrupt, didn't tell her to calm down, didn't pretend everything was fine. He simply pulled her into his arms and held her with a softness that felt like safety for the first time that day. But their moment of comfort was interrupted by the sound of Edda's shrill voice ringing across the courtyard. Mocking again, pushing again, trying to regain the power she felt slipping back in. Sorry, romantic Sankikior. Ayelka PC, Andan Sanra, Havalara. Back on. More snickers followed, more cameras lifted, more whispers poisoned the air. But this time, Doruk stood up, stepping in front of Sari like a shield. His voice was calm, steady, and terrifyingly firm as he said, Utin Mas Garikon, O Daigle, Cecinas. The courtyard went silent. People shifted awkwardly, guilt creeping into their faces. Even Burfin looked unsure. Zeynep looked irritated but quiet. The usually loudest of all had no one left to back her up. Bit by bit, the crowd dissolved. The storm softened. The day finally slowed. When school ended, Sarı walked out expecting to go home alone and hide from the world, but Doruk was waiting outside. He stepped toward her, hands in pockets, eyes soft with regret and something deeper. "Bugan olan hikber kai pisman dijalım," he said quietly. "Sada seni bioyalness baraktagam, ikin kindim, kizganım. Sorry, seni nimziyorum." Him dedi undin kokta hafazla. Her breath caught as he spoke, as the weight of his sincerity settled into her bones. For the first time that day, she smiled, small, fragile, real, and that tiny smile changed everything. From that day forward, Sarı wasn't suddenly fearless or bold. She didn't magically transform into someone loud or confident, but she took small steps, began lifting her head when she walked, meeting people's eyes, speaking up when she needed to. Slowly, the whispers quieted. The laughter faded. The bullies realized their power came from her silence she no longer carried. And Doruk stayed beside her, not as a hero saving her story, but as someone walking beside her as she learned to save herself. Their journey wasn't perfect, wasn't easy, wasn't a fairy tale, but it was real, honest, and earned through pain, courage, and the fragile beginnings of love. And sometimes, that kind of story is the most powerful of all.